again, everyone. We're here for part 2 of our, our contender tier list for newcomers. So still got a fair few contenders to get through here. So let's make a start.
Yeah, we had an excellent time last time. It seems like everyone enjoyed it as well. So we make sure we rattle the rest of them off and do what we can.
It may be another long video though, but we should be fine. All right, let's start it off. Caprius.
Well, my exposure with this one is absolutely zilch. So this will be Sam, I think.
Well, Caprius I've tried to make and I've tried to use. He's a very interesting one. I just have to go with D. It's just going to be off for a starter player. Caprius is just not the contender to pick. I'm still trying to build him. I'm still trying to go through and make him work. He's fun to use, but yeah, he's just a struggle trying to get his cards to work. Trying to get you're going to have to go multicolored with him, because he just doesn't have the cards needed to be able to keep himself afloat. And yeah, he needs more cards. He needs more effects, and he's fun. Don't get me wrong. He's a very, very fun contender. I've thoroughly enjoyed using him, but he just struggles everywhere. The cards that you need to get for him are very, very specific. He doesn't have a lot of effects right now that are powerful in any regard. So yeah, I would have to put him straight into D, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Having 1 defense is decent, but 20 health it's rough for a new player. Having to adjust to really thinking about how you go about things and clashing and that sort of thing. Starting with sort of roughly 5 or 10 health lower than other contenders is a bit rough if you want it as a first deck for sure. So yeah, I think D.
We were talking about Mean
sense.
Streak before, about the fact of trying to use his counters and how challenging it can be with his counters, and Caprius is just the same, but his counters are, in my opinion, even harder to use. He's just, yeah,
he's not got anything that's like sort of helping him. Like he's a very, I think, as you described it in the game we had the other day when you were playing Caprius, he's an annoyance of a contender. He's not. There's nothing too massively aggressive about him. He can just basically make you not be able to attack. Is his main thing, which means it's quite hard to build a deck.
So yeah, like I say, I'm quite happy to go D, and as long as you two are happy with that, I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Shadowblade. Has any of us actually used Shadowblade?
I've not used it, but I've seen it. Well, we've all seen it used really well in the last league with Danny going absolutely ham with it and doing a really, really good job. Looking on the effects that Shadowblade has, I'd like to say that it's an alright contender for a newer player. It's not the best, it's not the worst. Bounty counters are a difficult one to get your head around towards the beginning of the game. Ambush is also there, which is more of a tricky one to figure out towards the beginning of playing into a TCG. But the cards are quite generic. She does have a decent amount going for her. I'd be tempted towards B or C, I would reckon. I think something that would be easier to make than, say, Caprius. But by no means a strong starter contender. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because it sort of takes the ambush kind of side of things from Krung, but then some of the bounty counter stuff from Lin, and it's kind of a mix of both. It does have some good support, but as a first deck, yeah, I think you might struggle. I think it kind of falls into that area of a decent second deck, once you've got an understanding of things and you've had a few games under your belt sort of thing. So, yeah, I think probably B or C.
Yeah, it does indeed fall. It falls into that category of token, but she's got a lot of good cards and there's quite a lot of support for blue alpha hunters. So you could mix in quite a lot with Shadowblade quite easily.
So what are you thinking? Are you thinking more B or more C?
I'd probably go B, just because there is still a lot of powerful cards.
It's the same with Mean Streak. It's a really good second deck.
Yeah,
but I don't think as a first deck it works really, really well. So I'm quite happy to agree with you there and go with B.
Yeah,
yeah.
B sounds good.
B it is. Oh, this is definitely
you
Matt's forte. We'll just sit back and let him talk.
I'll try not to take a huge portion of the video up with this one, but this is my kind of first and only deck for effectively the whole time I've played Alpha Clash until quite recently. I've just sort of thought Flair looked awesome, the cards for her looked awesome, so I kind of just went for it. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to rank it too highly, though. I'm going to try and be unbiased. Starting with 30 health and attack is always good. I think the Nova tokens are quite easy to understand. There's a fair few cards that make use of them. It's not really a mechanic that's too difficult. It's just you destroy something with non-clash, it makes a Nova token, and you save them up, and you can use them for different cards, and Supernova especially. That second ability comes in quite handy as well. But I will say, you're going to have to kind of cross into other things, not just Flare cards, for it to be too viable. But I do think it is a really strong starter deck for understanding the game and everything. I don't know what you guys are thinking on that.
I mean, it goes into that sort of non-clash damage, which is, as we know, it's easy. It's not the easiest, but it's not too complicated to do. And there is a lot of support for red non-clash stuff because it does seem to be a red thing. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's definitely it's up there with the sort of an A of an intro deck.
I'd be leaning towards A or B. I think is where I'd be going with it. I think I'm more tempted for A. It's by no means S tier.
No, but it is a powerful.
Simplicity wise, as Matt put, it is there, and it's not that difficult to understand. I think there's a lot of cards that do work, and you could make quite a generic deck, and it would still work moderately well. So yeah, I'm quite happy to, like I say, A or B, but I am leaning more towards A.
Yeah, I think A. Yeah, I won't insult her by putting her in B. Yeah, she's still my main deck.
A, it is. All right. Next one is Kilimanjaro. This is an interesting.
This is one that none of us have. We've all been against.
But none of us have. I have used him a couple of times.
Yeah, this one's very popular, very much sort of meta, I would say. But it is kind of hard to understand it and build the deck for it.
It's not new player friendly now.
No,
it's something that if you got really good with it, you can get really good with it.
As we've seen with
something that you'd just be able to get out the box and be really good with from the get go.
No Profanity's made a good deck with Kilimanjaro.
B's just seems to work. I think for Kilimanjaro, I think it's simpler than like the mean streaks that we were talking about before. It's magnitude. Once you just know what magnitude is, it's a lot simpler than being able to monitor counters and monitor everything else because it's just counting cards.
Yeah, you just get rid. Yeah, just getting rid of your own cards.
It's simpler than something like Mean Streak with counters and whatnot, but it's probably more tricky based off the fact that you're getting rid of your hand constantly, you're cycling cards, you're needing to. I'm tempted to leave it at B and just leave him in there.
B's a good one just because it's got a bit of complication to it, but it's not Not too
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah, I'm happy with B. Yeah.
B it is. Oh, well, this one I'm going to be shut up for, and so is Matt, because it's Warcry.
My turn. Warcry. The deck that I used in the last league and the last Awakening. Very, very fun. I still like the fact that it's got a typo on here, so if everyone can mention something to the owners of Deck Planet, we'll get that typo sorted out at the very beginning of the card.
What do you mean? To use not a word?
No,
Whenever
to me,
to you.
Yeah, it's they're not there anymore. I think as a starter deck, he's quite simple. I do think he's got the Clash kit, which makes it nice and easy because again, he's quite easy to get your hands on just a deck of him and play and use. I don't think he's by no means an S tier. The idea of exhausting your own cards and working out when to exhaust, when not to exhaust, because it puts you into a limiting position for when you're using it. But he's also not difficult to understand. You attack with your contender, you exhaust him, you attack with certain clash cards and exhaust them, and that is basically it. It is just attacking, using that effect, and getting draw power off from it. So I don't think he's necessarily a difficult deck to use, and he's also quite easy to get hold of. So I'd be quite happy to put him in 8. I don't know about you two. I think he's a bit more challenging based off the fact he's got 25 health rather than 30. But his clash kit is, of most of the clash kits, probably one of the less expensive ones. It's got some good cards in there, and yeah, his effects are just quite simple and quite easy to understand. So I'd be tempted for A. I don't know.
I mean, you're the one that's using it, so
Yeah,
got more
I think
of a say
I like A. I like A for him for sure. His actual support cards and everything are really good. Like you say, once you understand the exhausting and kind of after you get a couple of games under your belt, you sort of understand, when's best to use that. I think, yeah, it's a really solid deck.
Also got quite a few powerful, just basic cards as well. Nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and then good cards in the Clash kit, because some of them requires you to have the Clash kit, like the Faithful Protector that everyone loves so dearly. He's only in the Clash kit, but is just a very strong card by himself. So yeah, A. I'm happy with A.
Yeah,
cool.
Clarity. Now, this is a popular one with the other outside European community. I don't think there's many of us. Is there anyone that uses Clarity in the EU?
I haven't seen it used in any of the Clash and Teacups leagues or any of our tournaments so far.
No, because it's been the other Clarity that's been used, hasn't it? The 30.
Yeah,
Clarity,
I think that's the thing. Really, I don't think this ever seems to really take precedent over the original Clarity. It's sort of what I'd describe as too many hoops, really. And for a new user, that's really not ideal.
It goes into the same category as Shadowlight, just because it's a contender that doesn't necessarily need to be dual color, but it does really to get the most out of the contender, the flippy stuff.
Yeah, and I think not necessarily the white side, but I think the flip side, it's that whenever you take damage, you take one extra, and it's just like, I don't know, for a new user, it just seems really risky.
It is...
It's above absence.
Yeah, I know.
There you go.
This one.
Yeah, like whenever it would take clash damage, deal that much +1, and it's, I don't know. 20 health as well. It just seems really risky. Quite difficult to understand. It's a lot of text for either side as well. I'd be tempted for C for this one, to be honest. Maybe even D.
D was where I was thinking, because I think the support for Clarity is there. I think compared to Shadowlight that we put into D, as much as they're both like flippy contenders based off the idea of having two sides and two colours, I think if you were going to pick between them, Clarity would be the one that you would pick rather over Shadowlight for a starter deck. I think the support for Clarity is there. I think having a dual colour as a first deck is always going to be more challenging, but I don't think it's down there with some of the more difficult ones like Iron Piston or like Shadowlight. So I'd be tempted for C as well. I think C is probably a good place for this one to sit.
I mean, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah.
C. We go get the other
So yeah, you'll have to grab the other one.
There we go. They're both in C. Now, I think this is another one that Sam can talk about, but me and Matt might have some opinions. Alpha
Again.
Aster.
It's Thanos.
Aye.
I'm just gonna say D.
Yeah.
Alpha Aster. I love Alpha Aster. I've been recently using him. I think his effects are really cool. But the only way to play him, I mean, you could play him with less than 5 colours, which is what I'm trying to play him with. But you couldn't really play him with less than 3. I think he is the only contender that requires. I mean, his clash buff alone at least requires you to be dual colour to make it work. Tricolour seems to be the way that a lot of people tend to play Alpha Aster, is going 3 colours with him. He's fun, he's different, he's got lots of cool effects, but
it's a lot of information.
He is the contender that if you were picking one for the first time, this should be at the bottom of the list. This is the one that is fun later in the game when you know how the effects work, when you can build multicolored decks, when you can adjust strategies and change things around. He's strong and he has really good effects, but this should not be your pick for a first deck. It just should. D is the only way for him to go.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, just looking at it now, it surprises me that he's 30 health and 1 defense. I'm pretty sure he's probably the only contender, as far as I'm aware, that has that.
And then he's also got the ability where you can flip the portal if it's open. And he gets 1 attack instead of 1 defense.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what. So if the portal's open, he's a 1-0, and if the portal's closed, it's a 0-1.
Which is yet another thing to
the only contender
manage.
that can have 1 defense that has more than 20 health.
Yeah.
But like as a standard, just.
I will say something there that in the games that me and Sam have had while he's been playing Alpha Aster, that green ability, it's coming quite handy. He cycled quite a few powerful cards with that.
He's very good. He's got very good effects, but he should never ever be a first pick for a first deck.
No. You need a solid understanding and to have experienced a few games, and yeah, I think I agree with D, to be fair. Yeah.
Sorry about that. All right.
We're boring you.
Yeah. Avenging Eye LARPing expert.
I wish he had more support. He's one that I would have liked to have taken on at some point.
I mean, he might get more support in the future, but
I think I genuinely think. I mean, this is one I'm curious about trying to make at some point, just because I want to see if I can build him and make him work.
I don't know what is his thing. You may engage
to distract.
It's distraction, so
yes.
you can't obstruct. So whenever something's distracted, it can't block attacks, which is a very useful effect.
And then after to control a clash ground, you get
very situational. It's very hard to play. There's a reason that no one has built him.
I don't think I've ever played against him. So
yeah, he's just not there. And like I say, my instant reaction to him is D. He's just not. Again, he's just not a contender that you'd pick. He's got the same correlation with Windhoof as well, in the fact that it uses a lot of arrow cards. There's very specific cards like Zephyr Strike, which you need to be using when you're using an Avenging Guy deck. His cards are hard to get hold of. He's a difficult contender to learn.
He has got a clash kit, hasn't he? If I'm not mistaken, does he not have a clash kit with Is it with Paul? Maybe.
It might be a Paul.
But I think that's, even when it comes to clash kits, that's one of the harder ones to attain nowadays as well. Yeah, I think I was thinking C or D as soon as you opened him up, but if we think D, that's fine.
I'm thinking D. I'm just thinking, I'd love to put him higher. I'd love to tweak around with him and test him, but there is a reason that no one really plays him, and there's a reason that he's just one of those that just sort of sits there. He's just everyone that has tried. There's a couple of people that have made him work okay, but it's only ever okay, and that's after a lot of playing. It's
definitely not new friendly.
No, not in any way, shape, or form.
D it is. Oh, Paul.
If only Fraser was here.
See, this is Paul's. Immediately, I'm going to say B, because once you actually read his effects, Fraser, you actually realise he's quite a powerful card. Like, because the fact that you can
He's
obstruct
quite unique.
and then
that he
draw a
can
card and
obstruct.
negate damage, it is very powerful.
Yeah, he's in a Clash kit as well, like we just mentioned. Granted, one of the harder to attain Clash kits now, but yeah, he's quite unique. He's lovable. He's bold. He's he's one defense. Just having that ability to just negate damage.
Don't get me wrong, the Alpha Hunters aren't easy to play.
No. I mean, if you're using Paul, you tend to kind of just use what you would have typically used with
Red Moxie.
With Moxie, yeah. Like, that seems to be the sort of Clash cards he's suited to. We saw our good friend Fraser use this in the most recent Awakening here at the Leaky Teacup.
He came fourth.
And yeah, he did really, really well with it. Just by using pretty similar things to what you would use in a Moxie deck, but having that extra defensive capability just really seemed to help. I think B would be absolutely fine.
I'm quite happy with B. I think he's easier to use than, like, say, the mean streaks and using counters and doing a few other effects and everything else that's there. And Alpha Hunters do have more cards that can just generally be used for Alpha Hunters, so I'm quite happy with B. I don't think he's necessarily an A, but B's a solid place for him to be.
B it is. What's my mouse? I put him in C, didn't I?
B, not D.
My mouse is missing it. Right. We are lacking on some S tiers. Just kind of shows how hard it is to get S tier. Thing is, absence. Well, we at the minute, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with what I'm about to say. It is very the meta contender at the minute. Like, it's very powerful.
Yeah, the most recent Progenitor's Gambit in the Philippines sort of showed that this is very much the meta at the moment, taking over from Talk, who kind of held the meta for a long time. But at the same time, he's not exactly easy to understand either.
No,
he does require very specific cards. Like, if you're playing an absence deck, you're going to want the legendary
or the epic.
Not really, or the epic one cost, because I think this is one of the only contenders that the standard one cost card that you would just use in most decks is an epic. I don't think he has another one cost. I could be wrong on that, so don't take my word for that for lore. But like, even contenders like Lyn, there's the one cost epic Nanite Assassin, but there's also Lyn the Diminisher, which is just a one cost common card that you can just use straight out the bat. And as far as I'm aware, Absence doesn't have another one cost. So the fact that his epic is a one cost, which is one of the starter things that you're going to get on the board right at the very beginning of the game, the fact that his Clash Ground is the legendary, I don't really know where to put him. Personally, I'd be tempted towards B or C. I think that's where
I'd say
I think
B, just because because of how good he can be, and he is a bit complicated, but it's not too complicated. It's once you understand that banishing cards has effects, and
it's more just the fact he's got a lot of effects going on.
That is true,
Triggering the portal backwards and forwards, doing damage to contender with his trigger challenge. He's got action cards, void cards. There's a lot of effects that happen with absence. If you're trying to learn the game and trying to learn it from the start, having to learn, like you say, trigger portal effects, challenge effects, action effects, void effects, banishment. There's a lot to understand and a lot to get your head around. And then the idea of, like, say, being able to banish other people's cards and going into the void zone and, like, I know that he's strong, but as a first contender, between B and C, I'm even leaning towards C just for the stacks of different effects that he has in his roster. But he is very strong. And he is one that you could potentially just build a deck that might just work. But I'm not confident enough to say whether you would. I think the fact that he requires specific cards, the fact that he has multiple effects.
Yeah, you need a full understanding of what actual cards you really need to lean into, and like you say, they're not the cards you'd expect. That it's the one cost, it's the Clash Grounds, it's I think C. I think C.
That's where I'm leaning towards. I thought B, but just based off of everything that, like, playing him as a first time player, I don't think that he would be anywhere near the easiest contender to learn. I think he's easier than a couple of other contenders out there, but I would put him towards the bottom. Very strong when you get him to work, but very difficult to understand, and a lot of effects going from everywhere on the board.
Yeah, I see. I'm happy with C.
Yeah.
That's how many have we got left? Oh, we might want to speed a little bit. It's got quite a few.
If this one goes over an hour, it goes over an hour. I'd say, it wouldn't be worth making a third video just for like one or two last contenders. We'll just stick at it.
Well, entropy.
Well, it's entropy. So yeah,
D.
entropy
D,
is
D.
my current deck. It's my second kind of deck. I've hung up the gloves for flair. I'd be tempted to put this pretty low. I'm finding it really, really fun to learn. It does give you certain freedoms that you don't get elsewhere. Like, you can use any colour you want. You just have to pay the health for the specific resources. But there are a lot of things that are really unique to it that you've got to learn. Like the affinity colourless, so you can only use one copy of every coloured card. It introduces the colourless cards as well. Setting resources face down. But starting on 40 health is cool. You're leaning into banishing cards quite a bit. Yeah, I don't know. I think probably similar to Absence, really. Probably a C. Don't know what you guys think.
D. I'd say D, just because.
Unfortunately for you, Matt, I think he's the same sort of.
Alpha
He's like Alpha After.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that he uses colourless, the fact that he is the only one that uses colourless, that he sets resources down different, the fact that it costs you health for every coloured card that you use.
You've also got to use the Banish Stone.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of effects. I think he's just, unfortunately, just a D. I think he's
to be fair, I think you're right.
You found him as a fun contender. I think he is fun, just exactly the same way that I find Alpharasta fun. But there's a reason Alpharasta just went straight into D, and I think Entropy is exactly the same. It's just, if you were going to look at this game from the very beginning, I think Entropy is just not the one.
I'm happy with D. Yeah.
Ooh, Weber. Now, I'm going to immediately say this. C. Just because...
C is where I was thinking. I think compared to Alpharasta or Entropy or anything like that, I think because he's an Alpha Hunter, because he's more of a generic Alpha Hunter, I think, again, it just sort of leans him a little bit higher. His effects are really difficult to get off, and there's a lot of effects going off, especially with the idea of grenades and giving stuff to your opponent, and... Yeah. He's by no means of all the Alpha Hunters, he's not the one that you should pick. He should not be your first choice out of all the Alpha Hunters. There's plenty of other ones that's just easier to use, easier to understand. But I don't necessarily think he's a D. Like I say,
he's in a Clash kit, isn't he?
Yes, he has the same Clash kit as Warcry. I believe it's Warcry and Weather in that Clash kit. Yeah, which again is probably one of the cheaper ones on the list. It's easier to obtain. He's a bit different, but yeah, C's automatically. The moment that he popped up, C was where I was thinking. If
you're going to go for an Alpha Hunter, this isn't going to be the one you're likely to pick, unless you are just going to buy a Clash kit and have that as your method of getting into the game. Yeah. But even then, you're going to find you prefer Warcry out of those two in that particular Clash kit. But yeah, I think we can knock that off at a C. Yeah.
Sinai. This is an interesting one. I made a Sinai deck in the first draft event that we did at Leaky Teacup, and it went well. I won.
His use of nano shields is... I don't think it's that hard to understand.
No,
it's really not. Really good as well.
He's obviously got that Alpha Hunter sort of style. He's got the nano shield, which basically makes it so that a clash card can take a hit each turn and then ready itself back up. I believe it's still attached.
I believe so. Yeah.
So it's got that sort of cowling, ready your cards up sort of stuff. But it's not powerful. So
I'm going to go out on a limb and say B.
yeah, it's mid-table, definitely mid-table. Because
Yeah,
it has
yeah,
got a
I'm
few other
starting
effects that
on-
you've got to learn
Starting
as
on
well.
20 health, I'm always against for a newcomer, just because you're starting at a disadvantage straight away. 1 defense is good. His actual support cards are really good,
Yeah.
but
I would pick
not
him
one higher up
over
there.
Weber, put it that way. If I was starting the game, I would pick him over Weber, but
Yeah,
he's not good enough, I reckon, to put into A. Just B is just a nice solid place just for him to.
yeah, I
stay.
agree.
Here we go again. So
Oh, S tier straight away. No. Conquest
you joke,
was my
but
first conquest. He was my first way into the game, and there might be a little bit of bias in this, but I do believe that you two probably agree with me in this, in the fact that his effects are pretty simple to understand. They're pretty easy to understand. I mean, as we saw towards the beginning, his cards are pretty easy to get hold of. They're decently inexpensive to get them. He's not in a clash kit, so he is down more towards that. But I am genuinely tempted towards S or A, just because his effects are easy. You understand, just swing and hit things, and as long as you kill them and don't die, you get to draw cards. Conquest cards get an extra attack, which is very, very similar to the Magnate that we put up there. I think Magnate is better than Conquest out of the two, as in the 30 health Magnate, because that's just everything gets a general defense. It doesn't matter whether it's your turn or not. Magnate cards are probably even easier to get than Conquest. Personally, this is something I was going to mention about anyway, but if you guys are happy to do it now, I would put Conquest into A, and I think the Magnate that we have should go into S. The 30
I
health
was
Magnate.
just thinking that
Yeah.
of
was
moving
considering it
Magnate
before.
up.
we'll move.
I think moving Magnate up to S is
We'll
is
move
the right
everything
choice.
around at the
I
end.
am I am more inclined to put Conquest in S as well, though. To be honest, like the actual Contender ability, I don't think is quite as good as the Magnate, but I think the actual all the Conquest cards having fairly the same abilities and it just being generally a really strong deck. Nothing complicated going on. Just keep killing stuff. You're gonna do well.
If we're going
I'm
off
honestly
of
thinking that and Magnate in S, to be honest.
if we're going off of like new friendly, we've also got to think about fair enough. Sam, I think did you go unbeaten last league? Or was it
The last league
was
I
it
did,
just
yes,
Danny
but I
that
was
beat
playing
you?
Warcry, not Conquest.
No, this first league.
I went unbeaten in the first league until I went against Talk.
Yeah.
With Nefarious.
So
he was the one, he 2-0'd me with Talk.
As your first deck, pretty good. But you've also got to take into account your previous experience of the new player. So if you've got some experience with sort of like with TCGs and other stuff like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever, then probably is quite a good intro deck. But if you've not got much of an intro, then it'd probably be an A. But if you have, then it is S. If you know what I mean? Like there's the split off.
Like I say, I'm quite happy to leave him at A.
But then
I think he's a good, solid, strong contender. I think he's really easy to understand and learn and play. Some of his cards are a little bit harder to get hold of, but like I say, he doesn't have a clash kit, which like the Magnate does. I think War has a clash kit as well, although I can't fully remember which contender it is out of the two.
It's the one that we have in S, I believe, that has the clash kit.
I'm quite happy for Conquest to be A. I think he's a strong contender. He's nice and easy to learn, nice and easy to understand, just easy to pick up and play. So A I'm quite happy
I think
with.
Conquest in A, and I think that Magnate should be jumped up to S.
Yeah,
we'll do all the moving about later after we finish them. Just because. Just remember that one up. Right, Black Moxie.
Yeah, so I think out of all the Alpha Hunters, this is the best one to pick.
Definitely.
You're going to be using similar actual cards in all the decks, really, but I think this is your best bet in terms of contender to pick.
I mean, it's the fact that it just buffs all Alpha Hunter cards to be able to attach more than one weapon, just as a generic thing.
I'd be considered to put this one in S.
Yeah. To be fair,
I was considering A, but I
think,
genuinely think S. It's got a Clash kit, which is the same as the Magnate one, which is, I think, probably the best Clash kit to get.
You get
if you were
some
going
of
to
the
get
very
them to start
powerful
the game,
cards.
because you get Moxie and Magnate, which are two of the what I would consider some of the easier starter friendly contenders to use. So you get a really, really good Clash kit there that does two things that you need it to do. But the fact that she just attaches multiple weapons, nice and simple, and then once she gets down to so many health, you can attach a weapon without paying its attach cost. Again, nice, generic, easy effect to understand. That's just easy to pick up and play. Works with a lot of different Alpha Hunter cards. Has a lot of versatility and probably not the easiest contender to use in the world. I think Magnate's probably an easier contender to use. I think that War is probably an easier contender to use. But as far as picking up the game and playing with it, Moxie she just works. I genuinely think that S is the right place for this one to go.
I think I agree. Obviously, you've got your weapons to consider, but they're not that difficult to understand, really, and the weapons are really, really good. And I think, obviously, with War, you've got War minions to understand, but again, they're not particularly difficult either.
No.
I think I agree with S.
So, our second S tier straight up.
Yeah.
Haven. I'm gonna
Most
good old
understand
Haven.
I'm gonna say
I think out of the three of us.
Yeah, I think Haven's quite a popular one for the meta.
Is it?
But not even close to talking
Knucklebuster Haven
but
and using the so you've got the ring and using
Clarity's ring.
Yeah, there's a lot there that I think Haven does use, and does work quite well.
Yeah, quite a defensive one, because I think the intention for this contender is to be used with Haven's backpack, which is sort of the only other kind of alternate win condition in Alpha Clash at the moment, where you kind of acquire collection counters and you try and get 25 on Haven's backpack, and then that's it, you win. Granted, that's not allowed for competitive play, so for Clash Grounds and Progenitor's Gambit, the two higher tiers of tournament, you can't use Haven's backpack, which is a shame. But in terms of an actual introduction to Alpha Clash, it's not awful. It is a tough one to pick up, because naturally you've got to be quite defensive. I don't know, I'm thinking probably B or C. I don't know what you guys think.
I was leaning into C, and I'll tell you why. There was Haven's backpack's the legendary, so it's again another card that you don't need to have in a Haven deck, but you kind of do. But we were talking about counters and the fact that Mean Streak and Keprius and anything like bounty counters, collection counters, anything that requires counters is a more difficult deck to play off rip. I think that stuff that goes onto your Clash cards is slightly simpler than stuff that goes onto your relics, which Haven requires a lot of different relics to use. It's all about putting collection counts onto them. It's all about using all of their plethora of effects. I think that cards are really simple compared to some of the other cards. I think a Haven Clash card is probably simpler than a Mean Streak Clash card as a generic side by side. But I think the fact that she requires so many relics, the fact that collection counters are a bit all over the place, and the fact that she does have a legendary that's kind of required to build the Haven deck, not necessarily required, because there are other ways around it with like Clarity's Ring or whatever. But I think that's also, is that a legendary or is that an
That's legendary as well? Yeah.
So again, you're moving from one legendary just to another legendary. So as far as actually getting cards needed for the deck and using the deck effectively, C is where I think she just has to be. but I understand why B. I think she is probably one of the easier ones with counters to pick up and use.
Yeah, it's
She's not very aggressive. She's got a lot more like build up strategy going for her. But that can also be a bad thing for someone that's trying to learn and trying to get everything going. That
to be
you've
fair,
got to sort of plan ahead.
If we're actually looking at new people to the game, in the Awakening, Susie, who's recently her first game was the Awakening, she was using Haven, and she did pretty well. To be fair, she understood it quite well. She understood how her abilities worked, what she needed to do. So
yeah, I think she had a background in magic, so I think if you have a TCG kind of background generally, you shouldn't find it too hard to pick it up. But I think, there is actual card acquisition to take into account as well.
Definitely.
I think C is fair. I think B would be a bit too generous.
Okay.
She's sort of on the cusp. She's like, I think you could consider her even like if you brought this conversation out to a lot of people, I think B or C would be the generic consensus. But I just feel C's just a stronger place for it to be in.
C it is. Valen Solariel.
I'm gonna go off rip and say A.
Yeah, I was gonna say A because she's got her abilities aren't complicated really, as long as you sort of understand what recover is, and it's just as long as you remember that when she gains health you can draw a card. They're not too complicated really. Her cards that are very accessible really. There's no legendaries you need really, and there's no. I mean, she's got some epics, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's got some.
But it's not.
The way I'm thinking it is, there's a reason that when people have done the draft, like we did one of the recent drafts, and there was a reason that like 4 or 5 players in that draft went for Valen. And in my opinion, it's the reason what makes Valen so strong is that she is just generic. You could do the draft, build a Valen deck, and build a moderately decent Valen deck that would just kind of work just off of a few packs. And I think that's what makes her it just makes her a stronger contender based off of the idea of starting the game. If you were to buy one box of which one was it? Was it set 7? Was it Echoes of Eternity? If you were to buy one box, you could build a strong Valen deck just from that box alone. I think that she doesn't have anything specific that requires her to work. It's not going to be the best deck in the world, but it will be a strong, solid choice that will just work, and it will
get you through, definitely.
And her, like I say, her abilities are nice and easy. That whenever you play action cards, you get recover. When you gain a health, you draw a card. Like, nice and simple. Daunting's a bit more difficult, I suppose, as a first thing to understand, which is a secondary effect, which puts her down a little bit, but I don't think it drops below A. I think she's just nice and easy to use, and I think that it's one that a lot of people would enjoy using as just a pick up and play. So A is just, I think, where Valen lives.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Ooh, down to the last 6. Cadavros. I don't think any of us have used it. I know there's a couple of people that have tried to make Cadavros decks in our.
I think my issue with Cadavros is that, like, it seems like you should pick him or Thragor. No. And out of the two, I think you're going to pick Thragor every time. They seem to kind of use the similar cards, the discard type. I don't really see there being a good trade-off for why you'd pick him over Thragor at all.
Cadavros is more strategic. There's a lot more going on behind.
It's a lot more micromanaging.
Cadavros. There's a lot of micromanaging. There's a lot of understanding of card effects. A lot of Cadavros cards have a lot of effects and text on them, which I think just makes him just a much harder contender to play. I would be leaning towards the bottom. I would be thinking C. I'm not sure about putting him into D because I'm not 100% sure. I think just him generally being a discarded, I think you could have a lot of different cards that would generically work for Cadavros, but there'd be no reason that you would pick him, like you say, over Thragor. But I don't think his cards are as far as I'm aware, there's not a legendary for Cadavros where it requires that card for him to play. I think C is just a generic place for him to go. I think
I think sort of a similar realm to Weber and that sort of thing where it's similar to Alpha Hunters where Alpha Hunters are good generally, but same as discard type, but it's not the contender you're going to choose out of all the options that you have. You're going to go with Krung or Thragor more than this one. I think C makes sense.
C.
Yeah.
I'm happy with C.
Happy with C.
Alright. Bell curves. Not belling. Right. Lynn.
Yeah. I really like the idea of Lynn, just with, a potential focus being to cause your opponent to have to diminish all their cards. I like the idea of going for that as a win condition. But for a newcomer,
It's a lot of micromanaging stuff again.
There's certain cards that Lynn needs, stuff like the Nanite Assassins, which just makes her really powerful. I think that the bounty counters, of all the counters, are one of the easier ones when used by Lynn, based off of the fact that you just put a bounty counter on something and you can attack it irrespective. I think that effect is nice and easy to understand and use. I would be tempted to put her into B. I think considering the same as like Mean Streak, based off of the idea that it's not going to be your first starter deck, but it's a nice simple deck based off of, like say, you just, that's got a bounty counter on it, doesn't matter what happens, I can attack it. That's the effect that she has is nice and easy to understand. It's nice and easy to get your head around. It's nice and easy that works in most situations. The secondary effect isn't that challenging to understand either. I think effect wise, of all the micromanaging counter contenders, I think Lynn's the easiest one of them to pick up and use. I think because there's still an amount of strategy there based off of like putting a bounty counter on something and knowing when to attack it, when not to attack it, but it's not micromanaging streak counters on Mean Streak trying to work out when you need to move them across from one card to another. It's not micromanaging the Keprius tokens where it's trying to minus attack off of something. It's just, I want to hit that. It can have a counter on it. I can hit it.
She has also got quite a few just basic, like common and rare cards that are quite good, like the 5/5 Flare? 5/5 Flight.
Yeah.
And that sort of...
Yeah, that's it. It's fairly straightforward. You're probably going to go for blue-white. It's one of those decks that I like because if you wanted to just go on Deck Planet, search Lynn, and just throw in every card that has her on the image or Lynn in the name, you can make a pretty solid deck without thinking too much into it.
Yeah.
You don't really need to, go for cards that are to do with other contenders but work well with this. You don't need to search for every blue card and figure it out from there. I think B makes sense. I think being 30 health, 1 attack, I'm inclined to go closer to A, but it might be another one of those that's just on the cusp of getting to A.
I did consider A, but I think you're still doing micromanaging with the bounty counters, and I think it's just enough to push it down to being B. I just don't feel that strong about being A.
As a new player, definitely B.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. I guess this one would be me, Lord Krung.
Yeah.
This was my first deck I made in Alpha Clash. Used it for the first league we did. He's relatively straightforward, to be fair. He's 20 health, 1 defense, so he's in that category of not as easy to use, but the discard cards that you can use. See, ambush is quite complicated, realistically. Not complicated, but it's another thing that you've got to remember when you should put a card in, whether you should play the card or just put it into ambush. You got to remember that you've got the card in ambush for starters, which I've several times when I first started using this deck, I completely forgot. And realistically, as this, the thing that you want is Lord Krung Ruthless Warlord, which is an epic. So I'm not saying that the deck needs that card, but it definitely benefits from having it, which brings it down, I'd say. As for a new player friendly deck.
I'd be tempted to put it towards B.
Yeah, B.
I think out of the two, Thragor is the easier one to use of the two. I think, like you said, ambush is just more of a difficult thing to get your head around, and the fact that it sort of requires the portal to be open to do it, especially to like, so there's a few more situations where you're going to make more mistakes with this deck, especially towards the beginning, where you're trying to use effects that you can't use at a certain point, or there's effects that you can't remember.
It's also got that resource management as well, making sure you've got enough resources to be able to play that ambush card.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it pretty much tells your opponent, like, look, this face down card it's something, and
definitely
I've got
a trap.
Resources to do it. Like it's hard to hide that sort of strategy as well.
Yeah.
But I do think that even without the epics, I think Krung has just quite a lot of generic cards that do work really well for him.
Yeah, that is true.
That do just sort of like, I think that you could genuinely pick up or start building a Krung deck, put commons, uncommons, just generic cards in it, and it would still be, you'd still be able to get your head around it moderately well, and you'd still be all right with it. So I think
one of the first times I went to the Leaky Teacup when we first sort of picked this hobby up, I think I was using Liam, No Profanity's Krung deck against Rich. And I think I won as well. Like, obviously it'll have gone sort of easy, but the deck was relatively easy enough to understand and get on with some slight coaching. So I think B makes sense.
I mean, this is the deck I was taught with by Liam, No Profanity as well. So yeah, it's B. I'm happy for a B.
B's just a nice solid choice, I think. I don't think it deserves to be any lower, but I don't necessarily think it deserves to be any higher. I think
it's solid B. Yeah.
Death to you. No.
Yeah, this one's another one that's semi-popular. Maybe not so much anymore, but sort of probably a couple of sets ago, I would say this and Talk were quite far up there in terms of popularity. It's that bringing stuff from Oblivion, that kind of mechanic that's tough to understand and tough to really utilize, but 30 health, 1 attack, it's already quite strong at that point. The actual death cards themselves look awesome. They play well. My first instinct is sort of, see, I don't want to put it at A because I think cards like Genesis are better.
It's the thing with Death is it's a lot of bringing stuff out of your Oblivion. So it's not complicated, but it's also not straightforward.
See, weirdly, I think I'm slightly different to you two on this, because I'm quite tempted to put it towards A. And the reason being is that her generic effects are basically the mirrored image of Conquest, but yeah, there's a couple of other effects that are a little bit harder to understand, but Death card dies, draw a card, and something gets +1/+1. I think it's the reverse to Conquest in the idea of you want to hit stuff, but in this is if your stuff dies, don't worry about it, kind of thing.
And I think this introduced Necrotic mostly as well. I might be wrong there, but I know this was only set 2, so I think Death would have been probably one of the first contenders to really introduce Necrotic.
I think that bringing stuff back from Oblivion is more of a challenging mechanic to get your head around, but I think based off of a secondary effect there, when you're just looking at just something that costs 2 or less into Oblivion and at the end banish it, I don't think that's necessarily a difficult effect to understand and to use. And the fact that it's just a case of basically a grinder of just throwing your clash cards at your opponent. If they die, you get to draw a card and something else gets stronger. It's just...
And you can bring them back as well.
Simple. It's simple, and it's got more micromanaging based off of something like Conquest. But there's a lot of death cards. They're quite easy to get access to. She plays pretty well. And the effects are nice and easy. I mean, I could be wrong. I do understand why you guys would probably want to put it further down towards B, but I genuinely think A, and that's I could be outvoted between both of you, but I just think
I'm happy
I think it's low A.
I'm happy to go A because there's some people that have had Death as their first deck as well in our little community, and they've picked it up pretty well. So
I think she's got pretty strong cards. I don't think there's necessarily anything that's required to use a death deck.
There's no major downside.
Yeah, you
really
need to have this card. I think her cards are decently accessible, and her effects are just nice and easy to understand. I think she is on the lower end of A. There are definitely other contenders I would pick over Death.
Yeah,
I think B might be a bit harsh.
I don't think she's as bad to put into B.
Right, the Pestilent Twins. Go for... Oh, we've got Pestilence... Prince of Plagues, 20 health.
Yeah, I think this was the first one, I think.
AC2, so yes.
Yeah, it will be.
Is ST4. Standard deck 4, so probably the one that came in AC4, I think.
Okay.
I've not got too much experience with Pestilence, although apart from it's definitely not an easy deck to use. Because you've got... There's a lot of good cards, but it's a lot of micromanaging the portal. Especially this one is tokens, right?
No,
this is not only full effects for the toxic counters. I think this is more the card just straight.
This is just the other one. Yeah.
So
I think the cards that came out at the same time as this contender are just like, if the portal's open, give clash card -1, -1, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's not complicated. But...
Thinking about it, actually, this is. I remember how I mentioned earlier about Absence and about the fact that was an epic and it's a 1 cost. Pestilences as well.
Yeah.
His 1 cost is the -2/-2. That's the epic. That's the epic 1 cost.
There's
for
2
Pestilence.
epics actually. Oh no, there's a few other epics, but yeah, that epic is a 1 cost. It's a powerful 1 cost, but yeah, I'm happy to put it in like B, just because this one's not too complicated.
I think B. I'm quite happy with B. I think B is a good solid place. Like if you kill something on your primary phase, which is basically playing your pestilence cards and giving them -/, and them dying to like just the fact that they run out of defense. I think that out of the 2 pestilences, I'll say it now, this one is going to be higher because this one's a lot simpler. It is just you kill something when you bring your cards out and you draw a card, as long as it dies.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a low A or a solid B. I think based on what you two have said, I think B.
I think solid B. I think solid B is just But the other one, C. I don't have to think that high into it. Just
thinking about it, I feel like this came in a. Did it come in a clash kit with the other war, the Javelineer War?
I think so. I mean, it is so starter deck 4, right?
Yeah. ST means
I think they both came together.
So C.
But yeah, you've got to understand your toxic counters and. Yeah,
toxic counters is a lot of micromanaging. There's a lot of effects used with toxic counters where it's like depending on how many toxic counters on one thing, it'll do one effect. If they're on another thing, it'll do something else. It's something that I've not looked into that much, but I already know that it's just a bit more mind-boggling based off of how to use the counters. So
I imagine one kind of journey if you're coming into Alpha Clash would be, if you really like the look of Pestilence and Pestilence cards, you might sort of find yourself picking the other one first as you learn the game and learn how he works, and then eventually you might move on to this one.
Yeah.
And this be, that kind of evolution of your game. Because I think this one is probably better in terms of how it performs. You've just got to learn it. So yeah, I think this probably goes into C. Yeah.
See?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we're officially ranked all the contenders.
Woo.
Now to move
It's
stuff.
a lot of contenders.
Now to second thoughts, just in case we're thinking of anything. I think
that
we're
one
all
goes up.
instantly thinking, S.
Yeah.
I think
I
that
agree.
one going into S just makes sense. I think out of everything that's there, it's just probably the easiest contender to use now that I look back on it.
Yeah, definitely. I think Conquest is a really strong A. Like,
Yeah, we
I still
reorder them.
think part of me wants it to be S, but I don't think it quite makes it. Because other than that,
You could argue that Valen could be an S out of everything that's there. Like I say, just based
This
off
is
of
a
the fact that
straightforward
you could just pick her up and play her, and she's just nice and simple. She's easy to use. I don't know. I was considering putting her into S tier just based off of that. Like you say, you could literally buy one box and make a moderately decent Valen deck, and
I do think Valen versus any of those others in S, though, she is definitely the worst. If she was in S, she'd be the worst out of those options. I think she's just a really strong A, same as Conquest, to be honest. I can't think of anything else that should go into S, and I'm pretty happy with those all being in A. Looking at B, I'm pretty happy with all those too.
Yeah, I'm happy with B. I'm happy with A. I'm happy that we've moved Magnate up into S because I think that's just right.
Yeah.
C, I'm quite happy with. There's a couple on there I'd consider maybe moving down to D, but I don't think they really need it. I don't think I was looking at Windhoof and thinking like potentially he could even be a D, but I don't. I'm still quite happy to leave him at C. Yeah, Weber, I'm quite happy to leave where he is. I was considering maybe there might be an argument there for putting him into B tier, but again, I just don't think so. I think he just stays at C. And yeah, the rest of them are there for reasons like Kagan. I think Kagan's one of the easiest contenders to probably use, but the fact that you just can't get his cards means that he has to stay at C. There's nowhere else you like. You could move it if it was just based off of the fact of how easy he is to play. I'd even put Kagan in A. I think he's just.
Yeah. I mean, if you're coming into like your local game store, someone's introducing you to Alpha Clash, and they're willing to part with a Kagan deck that's relatively made and has the crucial cards you need. Yeah, he'd be up there. He'd be sort of high B or even A if you can get hold of the cards. He is really good. But yeah, it's the accessibility that kind of brings him down.
You're just not going to get his cards, and it's just, he's just a tough one to get a hold of. Yeah, so I think looking at some of these, looking down towards like C and D, there was a few that I was willing to move around, but I just don't think they need to. I think we've got everything more or less covered. I think, like I say, moving Magnate up to S was definitely the right call. I think I do agree with Matt on the fact of like after those top three, Conquest and Valen are probably the next two that's going to be on the list. Potentially even a Thragor and Masters F. I think they're quite high towards the beginning of A as well, just as solid choices to use. But I think everything that we've done there, in my opinion at least, I think is it's where I would put it. There's a few that you could argue that's like on the cusp. Like Lynn could be the cusp of A or B. Haven could be the cusp of B or C. There's a few that you could potentially move around, but again, I'm just happy with where we've got everything. I don't think anything else needs shifting.
No, I think I agree. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with all that. The only thing that's bugging me is that B is that one too high, so it's the bigger column. It's bugging me. I just want to throw someone downward. No, because C has too many. We need to promote someone to B. Damn it.
No, it would be the other way around.
But no one's worth it.
You have to drop something down and do it that way around.
No one's worth promoting, I don't think.
No, it is what it is, and at the end of the day, that I would like to say that's a pretty decent bell curve based off the fact that B should be the biggest out of all of them.
Yeah,
It's just,
true.
it is just the idea of B being the average should be the fact that B has the most cards into it. I'm quite surprised that we've put more into C over A, looking back on it, as in the fact of in total. But at the end of the day, like I say, everything is where I would think it would be, and it's just the way that it works. I think there's a lot of contenders here that if you were going off of strength alone, this list would look completely different. You would have like your torque and your absence would be S tier. You'd have like if you were just basing it off of the fact that if you had infinite funds and you were really good at the game and you wanted to go right, I'm going to make this contender, this curve would look completely different. But as far as starting the game goes, everything here is right. In my opinion, I think everything here is where it should be, and yeah, I'm quite happy with what we've done with it.
Yeah, and if people are happy with this video and want us to do it a ranking or just a conversation discussion about other parts of Alpha Clash, leave it in the comments.
Yeah, we can potentially do a tier list for because this was all based solely PvP, so we could do a PvE tier list at some point. We need to get we need to start playing some more PvE.
We've got Siege of the Forgotten. We have Spoils of the Vault coming out, or Siege of the Vault, I guess, coming out soon. So PvE is probably looking at being a lot more viable. So I think that'd be a good idea. But yeah, if you have any other thoughts on this tier list, or any points we might have missed, anything you disagree with, by all means, let us know in the comments. Appreciate your time if you've got to this part. It's an hour of your time, so we really appreciate you watching. That's all from us. So, ta-ta for now.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much, and we'll see you later.